hot take, all the tanks in the Trails of games are terrible.
Welcome to Book Club no Kiseki. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I'm Matt Jorgensen.
And today, the section of the Falcom's Kiseki series that we'll be playing is Chapter 3 of Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, second chapter. But before we get into all of that, how farest thou?
Odd. Okay,
Yes.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's like COVID depression or regular depression, but I've been having trouble doing anything. So I'm trying to do stuff. Like, be productive, yes, but also just do things I like doing. Also, I've mentioned a long time ago on the podcast I was starting doing intermittent fasting, and I've liked doing that, and I've continued doing that, and now I am working on the what I'm eating as well, in addition to the when I'm eating. So I'm just making some small changes over time to what I'm eating to eat healthier. I'm eating more fruits and fibers and things like that.
Nice. Yeah, as I said on the main episode a couple days ago, I have been kid-shaped depressed, and Monday when we were supposed to record was real bad because Scarlett woke us up at 3 o'clock and threw a fit, and her fits can take 3 hours to fully get over, and it wouldn't stop, and then I had to go to work. So me and Summer went to bed at 8:30 last night. And it felt great to go to bed at 8:30, but it sucked that the day was so bad that we had to go to bed at 8:30 to recharge our batteries.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Matt? How have you been?
I've been dog-shaped depressed.
Ooh.
I say that, but for a puppy, he's doing very, very good. The problem is he's still a puppy, and I forget that, and, it is just part of the deal that you're awake every hour to hour and a half to take him out to go to the bathroom. And if you miss it, well, then you're awake for an hour to an hour and a half cleaning up that mess. And it's your fault. Because despite the fact that he looks like a full-grown dog in the wrong light, he is still a toddler. And I have to remember that. And it's really hard to remember that when you have a toddler that can pull you over.
At least he's adorable.
He is very adorable. He's very good dog, but I am missing sleeping in my 3-hour blocks. That is necessary for one Matt to exist.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assured that it'll only last for another few months.
That's good. Side note, the skunk that lives around here has gotten scared and released some of its odor from its glands, and I have an air conditioning unit, so I can't close this window, and it smells nasty.
Nice.
That's terrible.
Have y'all seen what skunks do before they spray their stuff?
No.
Well, before they spray their stuff, they try to intimidate you by stamping the ground. It's so cute. You should look up a video of it.
Okay, I will. Yeah, skunks, unfortunately, are adorable because every time I see one, I have the simultaneously like, oh my God, look at them. They're so cute. And also, get away, get away, get away. They're more dangerous than like a snake.
Mm-hmm.
I won't lie to you, on more than one occasion, because of where we are geographically, I've seen a skunk on the side of the road. But little tiny ones. They're cute, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, is that a skunk or a kitten? I need to pull over because I won't sleep tonight if I don't know. Oh shit, it's a skunk! Go!
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's listen to some of the music from this week, and then we will dive right in and talk about the plot. Matt, take it away.
All right. The chapter opens at Leiston Fortress with Faye and Gustav gushing over a ship. Sid joins them for a chat, and then it does like a... Oh, I just had the word. A balcony cut to General Morgan supervising a fight between Julia and Cassius. Cassius is bringing the heat, and Julia has to leave the kitchen. We get some exposition on how Cassius is the biggest boss when it comes to fighting in this country. And everyone gets dismissed to have other more vague talkings about the plans of the future. However, the most vague and weird thing, as always, happens at the end. And we see... I wrote some lady, but she didn't have a name until later, so we'll get to that later.
It's Amalthea. We know her from last game.
Amalthea?
They call her Kanone in this game.
Yeah,
yes.
They call her by her first name.
I don't remember. Oh, because I was setting myself up for a joke. That's why. We see some lady in some Jill Valentine looking ass clothes doing some sneaky scouting and talking to herself about breaking some colonel, presumably Colonel Richard, out of the fort. And it is that was a question I was going to ask before recording. Was I wasn't crazy that they did change the name for this game.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever mentioned her first name in the last game.
I know that Julia mentioned it because they talked about how they were like rivals in school or whatever, but I don't remember if that was a mandatory scene or a non-mandatory scene.
Yeah, I don't know. It confused me as well. There are a lot of cool anime military ladies to keep up with in this game.
There really are.
They all have great different uniforms. It makes them hard not to remember. It makes it hard to remember them all.
Yeah.
Anywho's will be. So we get the Chapter 3 title card, and the party is getting ready to head out. We do get some new jobs and can go shopping before we leave. There is a particular accessory you can get here that's really good. My guy told me to get it. And what it does is it recharges your EP.
I want that.
Sounds good.
It's like an on-step EP recharge. It is great.
That sounds great.
So I did a little bit of that, and then we head to the airship and check in. The first scene is Olivier being cool, and then creepy, and then attacked by a bird. It's a play in 3 stages. There's some chatting about the capital, and Estelle does her, at this point, traditional walking and talking around the airship.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm glad that we get a chapter now because it's my favorite thing from Legend of Dragoon. So I'm glad that it's in this game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I never, by the end of the chapter when I'm making notes, I almost never remember what they're talking about. But I also love it. It's like a cozy sweater that's used to be a color and now it's just like an amorphous gray thing.
I believe this is, in this one, Zen talks about Walter's history, which I don't know how much of it will be important later.
But it had like CGs and shit in mind, so maybe it's important.
Yeah.
And then we also hear about Tita's parents, which I thought was kind of cool. I made a point to write that down, I guess.
And still, I don't know how these scenes play out when you don't have Agate with you.
I almost want to go back and replay this part with Shara, because if there's just a whole nother section of story that's written with Shara there, that's like different story bits and stuff.
Yeah, there is. It's
God damn it.
It's hella different. So looking at the LP archive, who also took Agate, the place where Tita and Agate are is where Olivier and Shara are, and they have a Olivier is serenading. I almost said marinating. He's marinating Shara, and Shara they have like a back and forth about how once they're done here, she can bring Olivier back to Aina and they can have a drink together, and that song and dance back and forth. And it was Tita up on the balcony with Sieg, and
that's wild because it was Olivier and Chloe. He was serenading Chloe, and they had a sort of similar scene.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, when I remember in episode 1 where we were obviously next chapter we're going to get the party back together because there's no way they're going to make the whole game completely different. And then the game said, "Hold my beer."
They do finally merge the paths at the end of this chapter, it seems, but that's still a lot of scenes to be completely different.
Yeah, it's like like 12 hours of game so far?
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine doing that. That's just so much writing.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And then not to take anything away from the writing, but think about the translating.
Oh my gosh. Translating these games. I mean, I know it was a nightmare. I was going to say must have been a nightmare, but I know for a fact it was a nightmare.
Yeah, like the fact that the guy almost killed himself because it was this hard. Like, he literally had a knife and was going to seppuku instead of finishing this game. And it's like, Jesus. But also, I get it.
Was it the Kotaku article where it just cold opens with, I took a check with everything I was worth and I put it in that guy's, I just stuck it in that guy's screen door and I went home, planned to kill myself. That's
something like that.
I'm not doing it justice, but that's still some of the most blood run coldest read. It's really good. Anyone who hasn't read it should go look for it.
Yeah,
it's hard to read, but it's an important read.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it's by Jason Schreier. Who else could it be by? But the article is "The Curse of Kiseki: How One of Japan's Biggest RPGs Barely Made It to America." The opening line is, one day in March of last year, video game writer Andrew Dice wrote out a check for all of his company's money. He stuck it in the doorframe at his business partner's apartment in Portland, Oregon, then went back to his own place. He closed all the windows. Then, as he tells it, he lay down on his bed and picked up a knife, preparing to plunge it into his chest.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps just, and I've read that article almost a dozen times.
Yeah, it's a very good one. I definitely recommend reading it. But besides the fact that it's super well written, and you're like, oh my god, this game sounds like a nightmare. It's also, as all of Jason Schreier's writing, is a really cool like look into super troubled development. This one hyper focused on the localization, because over at Falcom, they have no problem pumping these out fucking yearly, even though the amount of writing in it is longer than a fucking Wheel of Time book that takes 10 years to come out, and they just pump one out every goddamn year. But over in America, they are very much cursed, and it's a very good read.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, what was happening in the plot of this game, Matt?
Okay, so we have our cozy moment on the airship, and then we arrive at the capital of Grancel. We make our way to the guild, and we chat for a while waiting for the army to show up. I did not write down what we chatted about, because usually it's fun but unimportant to the plot. Estelle does say, well, that's Ducky at some point, which I laughed at. We don't actually get to meet the military rep before we get a request to find a missing child from the villa. Obviously, we can't say no because it's a kid. What kind of monster would say no?
Mm-hmm. By the way, the only thing they talk about is the treaty between the three named countries so far. And they basically just check off it because it'll be important in just a little bit.
Yes. Yep. And
yeah, I believe they just say, like, so we're probably here because of the treaty. Yeah, you're probably here because of the treaty.
In typical me fashion, I took a very important aspect of the plot and completely ignored it until it was smashed into my face.
Yep. To be fair, that's very easy to do in this game because it's very like subtle with what becomes important.
You gotta be like, Crossbell is here, and Liberal is a buffer state, and there's all this stuff, and it's like, I don't know what's important.
Yeah.
Well, and they also do a really good job of making you think everything is important, but sometimes that backfires. Like last chapter with solving that whodunit, it felt super important in the moment, but when the moment I realized it wasn't important, nothing was important anymore. Anyway, we pony up and we go to the villa. After there are some of other available quests, and you can go shopping here. If you're like me and haven't upgraded your equipment in a while, I recommend it. We get to the villa and we run back into Chamberlain Raymond. And it turns out that the missing child is probably playing hide and seek and just screwing around with the adults in general. So a kid. The next part was not great until I broke down and did a guide, because my spatial awareness isn't great. So I wandered around for about 30 minutes.
One thing that's funny that happened to me at this point is Raymond is like, oh, I was playing hide and seek with her, and she was wearing a black bow in her hair and a white outfit. And I was like, I was expecting it when they said there was a little girl. It was going to be Ren, but I don't remember her wearing either of those things. I thought she had like a black outfit and like a red bow or something. And I happened to, on my Vita, I pressed the PlayStation button to go to the home screen to check what time it was. And Ren is on the big, like on your Vita, like the thing that has the continue button on it, that screen, her art is on there. I was like, oh shit, it is her. It was a white dress and a black thing.
In the sprite, like it has like black frills, I think, but in the sprite, it looks more like just the whole dress is black.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Anyway, we wandered around and played involuntary hide and seek. We run into Duke Duncan from the last game, who was placed under house arrest because the rich are never punished.
I have to point out it's Duke Doonan, which is important because there's actually another minor character named Duncan this week.
Have I been called? Did I do that last game too? Did I call him Duncan the whole time?
I don't know, but I might have not even noticed. I don't know at what point I noticed he was Doonan, not Duncan.
Yeah, I recognized him as Doonan, and I was doing the notes, so maybe I'll just be like, oh shit, I thought his name was Duncan, and then just never said anything. But who knows? But I did see that there was a Duncan later. I was like, you can't have a Duncan and a Doonan in the same fucking scene.
Duncan was like one of the guys we rescued in the warehouse, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Doonan's an asshole.
He sure is. At least he, like, vaguely, in an arrogant, shitty way, admits he's wrong. Like, I said, come on, game, give me something, and they threw it on the floor and said, here you go, asshole.
Mm-hmm.
We look some more. There's this funny thing with pots, where Estelle is convinced that this is a pot, right? A kid can hide in this, and it's like a small vase on a shelf. Or like a barely fits a single stem from a plant pot. Anyway, we look around and we find said missing child, and it's Rena, the little purple hair girl from before. She's great. We find out through conversation that she was left here by her parents because her dad had something very important to do. Seems shady, but whatever. She decides she's going to wait at the guild with us because she can't stay here anymore. And since we're headed that way, we take her with us. We wander on back to the guild. I think I did a quest here because there's a weird gap. Anyway, we make our way back to the guild. And it's perfect timing because Colonel Sid is here to tell us the business. Tita takes Rena upstairs to hang out so the adults can talk about boring stuff. Up to this point, we've been hearing, as previously stated, information about the non-aggression treaty, which seems like a good thing all around. However, someone is threatening all the signers and anyone who is facilitating the signing with angry, threatening letters. The mission, such as it is to investigate 7 of the places that got letters and see if we can find out any extra information. Those places are the Airship Company, Grand Cell Cathedral, Hotel Ronbaum, the Liberal News, the Erebonian Embassy, and the Calvardian Embassy. Embassy doesn't have a W, Matt. Keep going. Grand Cell Castle. I was super bummed because I thought this would take forever. But we as players are only going to half of them.
I was so glad when it turned out Agate was doing half the work by himself.
It was so good.
Yeah. It was so funny too because Eldon is like, okay, this is way too much for you guys to do by yourself, so we're going to split it up. 4 of you go over here, and Shara, you're as good as 4 people by yourself, so you go do everything else.
And I don't know why the whole group of 4 goes to the Erebonian Embassy, then the Calvardian Embassy. Couldn't Olivier and Estelle just go to the Erebonian embassy, and Zen just go to the Calvardian embassy. I say Estelle and Olivier because someone has to keep Olivier on task.
Oh, absolutely.
But they could have split it up further. It was weird.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't think about that part. I was just so relieved that I wasn't going to all 7 that it was just great.
Just doing 4 takes a while because people in this game like to talk.
Yeah, they do.
They really, really do. I wrote here that all of this is under the guise of looking for Rena's parents.
But they're kind of doing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah,
Like,
they're kind of doing 2 birds with 1 stone. I think I just misinterpreted that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they very directly ask about the threatening letters, but then Estelle always asks if they've seen her parents because they're going to like all the major places in the city anyway.
About halfway through, I thought that it was Estelle that misinterpreted the instructions and not me. It's like, oh, well, it's just Estelle missing an important thing, and she's just bluntly asking instead of... But I thought, oh, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I should go to bed. It's 4:30 in the morning. One way or the other. We do spend all day investigating, but it boils down to everyone important thinks the treaty is for the best and doesn't want to risk the treaty not going through. But other than what was called Warhawks, which is a weird, like, old-timey political saying in our world, so it's fine. Other than those of each of their respective countries, no one can really think of anybody that would be opposed to this.
Yeah, they basically find out nothing.
Yeah. We go to the inn.
Oh, but one important thing is that when we're at Grantsell Castle and we ask about Ren's parents, Hilda, the head maid, says that they took a tour of the castle, but the parents seemed off the whole time.
They're potentially important things whenever we go to Erebonia in 2 games, and then when we go to Calvard in 6 games, is that Erebonia is an empire, and they are very much being an empire is good and the only good thing, and Calvard is definitely a republic, and all of these monarchies don't seem to enjoy the idea that people should have a vote. And they talk about that shit a lot. Seems like it might be important down the line for the political drama between everyone.
But my thing is important later this chapter.
Yes.
Yes. I mentioned neither of those things, but I mentioned other things. There's a really great scene with Chloe and her grandma, the queen, that I thought was kind of cute. It reminded me of, God, what's that movie?
Game's enough to make you a monarchist.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but anyway, we go back to the inn. I don't think we've gone there. I don't know why I wrote back to. We just go to the inn. There's a pretty cute scene about Chloe decides to spend the night at the castle, because why would you sleep at an inn when you have a castle to sleep in? There's a kind of cute scene where Tita and Rena bicker over who gets to spend the night in Estelle's room, because they could only get 2 twin rooms instead of 4 individuals. I thought that was nice. That is very small kids with people they like and trust. Whatcha? Smash cut while everyone's sleeping. The next scene opens up on Annalise and, for me, Shara, tracking some Ouroboros soldiers to an abandoned mine near Bose. They were doing the sneaking, but then they find the camp abandoned and find some schematics for Aurelia. I don't think I'm saying that. What's that?
I said something like that.
Yeah, Aurelia, something fancy sounding, starts with an O. Then they get snuck up on, but beat the attackers up. A jerk in a funny suit called Campanella the Fool shows up and says some words that make Annalisa and Shara think that they killed some people, which I thought was a pretty fucked up scene.
Yeah, it was just distressing.
Yeah, it was very distressing until they realized that they're like clockwork monsters, like clockwork dudes.
Yeah, I found it weird how Campanella explodes them, but Annalise and Shara don't immediately notice that there wasn't blood everywhere. They were just like, "Oh no, they exploded, all dry like."
I also thought it was.
It's a dry heat.
Yeah, I thought it's a little. Well, I guess part of me thinks, guys, we spent all the last game murdering our way across a continent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, these people who we killed at least 700 of last game are dead. What will we ever do?
But, anyways, they are clockwork soldiers. Ouroborobos, if you will. I'm not saying that again. And then we get another scene of the Capuas and Josh ambushing a different group of Ouroboros soldiers.
I want to note that these soldiers are they're dressed like intelligence division soldiers.
Yes.
Okay. That is a good, important note. Because most of this chapter, I don't think there's any, other than the Robo-Ouroboros soldiers, I don't think there's any human Ouroboros soldiers, which is not important for this chapter, but will be important for later games. There we go. Okay. There is some talk amongst the Capuas and Joshua about him getting stronger, and he's got some cool tattoos. There's specific mentions of a tea party, which will be all throughout this chapter, that we do not know yet. This is also where I think retroactively you're supposed to get the feeling that Chizette has a crush on Joshua.
Who doesn't have a crush on Joshua in this game?
Tell me about it.
Everyone has a crush on Joshua, and everyone looks up to Cassius, and that is the entire country of Liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All 47 people. It is all somewhat cryptic in the way that we've gotten used to our in-between chapters being cryptic, but it's a weird change of pace to get it in the middle of a chapter. Anyway, we wake back up with Estelle and the gang. Brenna wants to go and play hide and seek. I think specifically I wrote play, but Estelle is oddly businesslike this morning. So we go to give the report to the colonel. During the report, we get an update on what happened at Bose, which is further interrupted by Duke Doonan being a real asshole because the Queen has recalled him back to the castle, and he's upset that there's only 3 soldiers guarding him. In this confusion, we have lost track of Brenna, I believe.
It's really funny. We go back to the guild and are talking, and just in between dialogue boxes while everyone's talking, Rin just turns around and walks out the door. It's really funny the way it's blocked.
Okay,
in my
I'm really
opinion.
glad somebody caught when she disappeared because I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I didn't notice at all.
Oh, it's great.
But anyway, we do go back to the guild hall to collect our reward from the first time of working with the army and get the update on what happened outside of Bose. To recap, Annalise and Sheriff found a camp that was abandoned, find blueprints for a thing, and meet Campanella the Fool, who is another Ouroboros enforcer, and that's about it. Okay, I wrote it down here. Rena takes the perfect opportunity with all this confusion to be a little shit and decides she's going to run off and force the previous issue of hide and seek. So we go looking for her. In the process of looking, we run into Gustav with the new prototype engines that are going to be shared with Ereboni and Calvard after the signing of the non-aggression treaty. We do quite a bit of wandering around Jeremy and finally find her. Everyone but me decided it was at least fun and she shouldn't get scolded. So we let it go and no lessons were learned. We head back to the guild again. When we do get back to the guild, Rena waits till Estella is almost alone to let us know that she was given a letter from a dark-haired boy and it is implied that it is Joshua. In our game, Agate comes out to collect Estelle. She shows him the letter. He says, "This is from Joshua, isn't it?" She says, "Uh-huh." He's like, "Well, what are you doing here? Get going." And so we do. This is where the game really starts ramping up, and if I miss parts, please interject.
Mm-hmm.
So the letter said to meet at something gate. There's so many gates in Liberal.
Yeah,
Garoon Gate. Yeah.
Garoon Gate, which is specifically outside of
City.
Yeah, Gransel.
There are so many places and concepts and things and people in every Falcom game, and they all have stupid fucking names. I can't keep track of it.
Killer is, like, from game to game, they have similar names. So, like, Gransel would be Gran Solo. I made that up, but that's an example.
In East Origin, it's literally just, like, about you going up a tower, and that's the whole game. And there's, like, 2 or 3 dozen characters in it.
Wars. Oh, Falcom. I love you, but you make my brain hurt. Anyway. Estelle gets to the meeting place, and Kevin is there. He also got a letter, presumably from a handsome stranger, asking him to be there. But surprise, it was a trap the whole time. And we get attacked by Ouroboros. God damn it, me.
They're literally just drones.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I keep trying to turn Ouroboros and robots into a thing, and it's never the same, and it's not getting there. Anyway, immediately after this, we get a scene of Bernard, could you say that name for me one more time? Kanone?
None Almathea.
Almathea. I'm just going to go with None. She happens upon Duke Dunan, who is just hammered, and takes him hostage.
It may be important later, might not be. Who can fucking say? But the drones are the thingies from the big underground shit from the end of last game, except they've been newly created, which is interesting because the other ones were thousands of years old.
Did we mention that when Shara and Annalise were at the camp, Father Kevin showed up there?
Oh, no, I didn't mention that.
I didn't know if he showed up there when we saw it earlier, but he tells us he showed up there later.
No, he definitely shows up there when we see it, and he's like, "Those soldiers were archaisms," which I think is what they call this shit.
Yeah.
Alcom terminology.
At least it's not .hack GU terminology.
God, man.
See,
You think taking notes for Trails in the Sky is hard? Try taking notes for .hack. I mean, I haven't taken notes for Trails in the Sky, but .hack was also hard.
It was
because I never had any fucking idea what was actually happening.
I won't lie to you. There are several times when I've gone to, well, several. I've done this 4 times where I've gone to make the notes afterward because it's easier just to, okay, this is the stuff I remember. Let's flesh it out with the LP, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, oh, that's what was happening in this scene? I completely missed that.
Yeah, the ADHD of it all sucks because a lot of times my muscles will hyper focus on clicking the OK button as soon as the box fills up, but my brain, instead of deciding to read, will just be like, that awesome scene in Dragon Ball Z? Let's just relive all like 3 hours of that power up and just how cool it was. And oh shit, who the fuck are these characters on my screen? What even happened? Why was I just clicking the OK button? I didn't read a goddamn thing of this.
Yep,
happens a lot.
That is absolutely has happened to me. Anyway. All right. So, Estelle and Kevin hurry back to Gransel. We find our party unconscious, and the engine's missing. That doesn't bode well.
If Maddie Grace were here, she would say, "And prom's tomorrow."
And prom is tomorrow. We find out that None has captured Duncan, and she also has Renna for some reason. We run into Shara, who's come to town to help us to fight None. I don't remember Annalise being with her at this juncture.
She is. Annalise is with her, but she doesn't come with us.
Okay,
she goes
right.
to talk to the army, I think.
Yep, that's right. So much is happening. Oh man, here comes the part. None is piloting a tank equipped with a gospel device that is so strong that Julia and her soldiers can do nothing about it. That is indeed the point of a tank.
And Kanone is using this tank to try and attack Gransel Castle to force the Queen to release Colonel Richard and fulfill Colonel Richard's dream. She's going crazy.
Yeah.
Much like anyone else who has singularly driven a tank through a town.
Yes.
Oddly common phenomenon. There's a great documentary about it on Netflix. Anyway.
I recently watched GoldenEye, and that sure happens in that movie. He just like destroys half this town, driving a tank through it.
Right.
And I'm like, is James Bond's superpower just not facing repercussions for his actions?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the premise for the entire show Archer. Is that it's just James Bond but real life.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I will address the tank in a moment. Kevin reveals he has borrowed the artifact that the mayor of Dalmore had, and it can shut down the tank for a little bit. Julia tags in for this kind of stupid boss fight because I had a terrible time with this.
Hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just hard. Anyway, real quick tank review. It's not good. It's a bad tank.
What's so bad about this tank?
Okay, so let's start with the tread guards. So anything with 2 sets of treads on one side is really susceptible to that breaking point from side shots. Because then you can dislodge 2 sets of treads at once instead of one corner. which prevents you then from hard pivoting in place. So you'll just have one set of treads going. But if you have one long set on one side broken, you can then pivot out of the break and still have 360. Well, not full 360, but a certain amount of motion to move the turret. Also, this is a fixed turret. Those are bad tanks. The Capella is a terrible placement, and that satellite should be on the back because if something hits it, you're out radio, and that means you can't communicate. Also, the armor depression on the front is not good because it's steep enough that it's going to actually deflect an incoming shot back into the tank, into the turret area, which doesn't matter how much armor you put there, is going to cause structural damage to the tank, very likely rendering that turret useless.
Yeah.
Also, someone with a bow staff, someone with a whip, someone with a rapier, and someone with a crossbow are able to take it out.
Yeah, that's not a good tank. There's no anti-personnel firepower on this.
So, does this change anything? So I'm following along on the LP to make sure we don't miss anything. And it doesn't have treads. It has 18 wheels. Does that change its viableness as a tank?
It actually makes it worse.
Good.
So here's the thing. The reason they use treads, right, is tanks are really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that's going to have, in our world, something like that would have a big, giant diesel engine pulling, and it's probably, based on the size comparison of Kevin in this picture, it's probably a 60-ton tank.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight, but it can be a lot of weight relative to other tanks.
Heavier than I can pick up.
Fair. But the issue is anytime you get so those tires are just going to start spinning because they won't be able to afford enough traction if you're going uphill. Because lots of tires doesn't help you. Unless, well, that's not necessarily true either. But if you have more tires, they need to be next to each other to afford a broader range of forward momentum. So just 16 tires back and forth. Also, what are you gonna do if you run over a nail? You're just gonna lose that. How are you gonna change that tire?
Yeah, it's not a great tank. It's also all of these rules are okay to break if it looks cool. This one doesn't even look that cool.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a metal slug, but it also kind of looks like a mech in the fetal position.
Yeah, and it looks like a mech torso, right? That somebody just laid flat and put wheels on.
Yeah. So
anyway, for more dumb tanks, you can follow me at What Is Tank on Twitter. Why is Tank on Twitter? I actively review bad anime tanks.
Good.
Moving along. So we beat the boss fight. It took me at least 2 tries.
I actually haven't done it yet, so I'm excited to die instantly several times so that it then is pitifully easy so that I can just blast through it.
I beat it in 1 try.
That part of my brain is having such a hard time just letting go and just nah, man, just let it kill you. It'll be easier.
Yeah, you just gotta let it keep babying you. I love when I was first playing through first chapter, it was a long time ago. I got to the bottom of the Capua hideout, and Estelle was alive with 5 HP, and I had no healing items and no nothing. And then you have to like fight your way out. So every single fight, I just died 60 times. So then it would be easy. And like when you get to the like, they've already set it down to easy, and they've already given you a full party heal, and they've already done everything they could do. You just get like 5 full party turns in a row, and all of them are critical. It's like, look, if you can't win this, I don't know what else to do. Like, we're just making it as easy as fucking possible. And I appreciate that the game thinks so little of me that it will continue to make it easier and easier as I die and die and die.
Yeah, but I like a game that you can't get like safe locked in, so
Yeah.
it's a good thing. Anyway, we beat up Kanone, and we beat her up, and we beat up the tank. She gives up eventually. Just in time for another enforcer to show up. Yay.
Yay.
This one is named the Angel of Slaughter, which is the most 40k thing this game has done yet. He reveals that Rena's parents are nothing more than actual puppets. And she pulls out a goddamn scythe and cuts them to bits. Again.
You glossed over the fact that the Angel of Slaughter is Ren herself.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That is a very important detail that I absolutely glossed over.
Yeah. You also glossed over the fact that all of the letters were written by Ren, and so everyone got different letters, making them all think that they were all... Like, we thought that we were stopping Almathea. Almathea thought that she was being summoned by Richard. Doonan thought he was getting a promotion. Kevin thought this. Like, everyone thought different things because there were 12 letters out there, and all of them were Ren.
I did not properly pick up that they were 12 different letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ren wrote a lot of letters.
Yeah. That's actually her Organization 13 power, is she can write letters.
I mean, it is mentioned that the handwriting looked exactly like Joshua's, so maybe her power is being able to spoof handwriting.
Yeah.
I also found it hilarious that she cuts up the dolls, and Estelle is freaking out because she thinks Ren just murdered her parents, and Shara's like, Estelle, they're not bleeding. And I'm like, oh, now you're so smart, Shara.
Right?
Yeah, I'm back. I was setting it up for a big goddamn reveal that it was Rena. And it's right at a page break. Get down there. There we go. We're good. She summons a giant robot, which according to LP is between 14 and 15 feet tall. I need to know how this writer knows that. The robot's name is Mater Pater. For those of you who follow Latin, that's mother and father. For those of you that don't, congratulations, you don't waste that part of your life. Rena climbs aboard and flies away.
She climbs aboard like what's-his-fuck from Xenogears in the hand.
Yeah,
like, that's how she pilots it because she's a badass.
This is actually a very important thing for Trails of Cold Steel.
Oh my god.
So remember this. Maybe not necessarily her, but this ability, it plays a absurdly pivotal role for a small amount of time.
So my favorite thing is, while we've been playing both of these games, it's never like, okay, Joshua is the Black Fang and he's part of Ouroboros. You have to remember this. This will be important. It's always like, all right, so Shara ties her shoes in this scene. This is a pivotal plot detail in Trails of Cold Steel 3. And it's like, all right, whatever the fuck. I have no idea where we're going. Like, all of these things feel like they should be spoilers, but like someone's just in a robot's hand. Like, who the fuck? What? Okay, sure, that's important. 3 games from now, I'll believe you.
It's so dumb that it's so important, but it is a major plot thread in Trails of Cold Steel 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Anyway, it is near this juncture that Kevin reveals he's in fact not a wandering priest. Color me shocked. He is a squire to the Grailsritter, which is German for Grail hunters. His whole job is to find artifacts and prevent their misuse. Now, this is artifacts with a capital A, so you know the important ones.
Never mind the fact that he technically misused an artifact earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he can't, right? he's the boss. He's the guy who determines if it's misuse. Well, one of them. Is that important for later? It might be important for later. God,
it's fine. Just keep going.
So many things. Kanane is taken into custody by Sid and Julia. They attempt to question her, but they are making zero progress. Cassius rides in with a new plan. Plan is to bring Colonel Richard in. Richard continues with the weird undertheme of penance in this chapter, and gives a monologue about how bad he feels over the lives and careers he's ruined with his own blind zealotry. He asks Kanane to let his beliefs go, and he takes full responsibility for any of the actions of the intelligence division up to this point. I could tell. Oh, go ahead.
I really like this scene because it was established at the end of last game that Richard was mind controlled, just like everyone else, by Lawrence and the Ouroboros. So, like, everyone knew him as a stand-up guy who would like do what's for the country. And so now that he's not mind controlled anymore, he's not using that as an excuse. He's still like, no, I was in charge. I fucked up. I did all the bad things. I'm taking responsibility for a thing that it was proven that I didn't actually do of my own volition, but yet I'm the stand-up guy, so I'm going to do it. And it makes me like Richard a lot, because I liked him a lot last game, even when he was fucking nuts.
I would simply not let myself be mind controlled.
That's probably the good way to do it. It's preventative is probably the best defense here.
Simply not be named Richard.
Like, I replayed the Mass Effect trilogy earlier this year, and I was like, Elusive Man, just don't get indoctrinated.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Duh.
Oh, boy. I was gonna follow that up with, the game was trying really hard to sell you on the idea of, Richard is a good person who is caught up in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, oh boy, did it work.
Yeah.
Good Lord, autocorrect. We flash back to the Ouroboros base. Wiseman,
Mm-hmm.
back from .hack.gu, talks a bit about the plan, and we finally get the Tea Party explained. It's really dumb. Rena is a fan of actual tea parties, not just the, catastrophe she just put on for us, but the physical act of a party about tea. Anyway, we see Rena, they really want to showcase how terrible she is, because she's not a fan of the current experiment, because she didn't get to kill anyone. She asks whether or not Joshua is back. and Estella is named as the reason Joshua hasn't returned to Ouroboros, which gave me an idea of what next chapter was about, and they immediately took it away by saying cryptically, when Estella joins us, it'll be on her own accord. Oh, is that the plan? I don't like that. Did I miss anything there?
I'm surprised these guys stated a goal.
Right.
Unambiguously, we're going to get Estelle to join us.
Yeah. So you had skimmed over the fact that our party is now together, but Annalise leaves.
Yes.
Shara / Agate are like, well, the intelligence division thing was all just a ruse, so my job is done, so I can join the party. But Annalise is going with Kurt's team to go and do something. So
they're going to try and find the Ouroboros base.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right after this section.
That's the next scene.
Yep. So Kurt gets his team back together. He's getting the band back together, guys. He's going out looking for Ouroboros. And he's all out of gum. Actually, that would be a really cool piece of DLC. But anywho, we continue with our round of goodbyes, as is our usual ritual. And then we run into our reporting duo. Dorothy has an important picture to show us. It's a picture of Josette and Joshua. They are working together. And I felt like this scene is treated as if it's intended to make Estelle feel like he's off with another woman, air quotes. Particularly when Niall says he won't run it in the paper and he'll allow her to take care of it. And then the scene just ends. That's the end of the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Did I read that wrong?
I didn't read it that way, but I might be dense. I never know what straight people are thinking.
Yeah, I didn't really read it that way. I took it as...
I thought it was just like, oh god, he's working with sky pirates, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Okay, because so I interpreted it as like, okay, he's doing something questionable the first time when I played it, and the LP seems to feel that way, but if you go and read the wiki, it strongly implies that there is some sort of connotation for that going on. So maybe it's just a confusion in whoever wrote the wiki.
Yeah, maybe so.
Anyway, that's the chapter, folks.
Yeah.
A lot happened in that last section there. Holy crap.
Yeah, I am sad that our new child is a bad guy. I wanted her to join the party.
It would be hilarious if like in the times when she's walking around with you, she like became a action party member and had the giant scythe, and they were just like, "Why do you have that?" And she's like, "Self-defense."
Yeah, I'm a little girl in an anime. I have to have a huge weapon, just like Tita has a huge gun. I have to have a huge scythe.
There's an interesting parallel here, like a direct parallel here to Trails of Cold Steel.
Is there really?
There's always is.
It's a storytelling parallel that I will be extremely interested to see if it plays out the same way there.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hope it does, but at the same time, I kind of hope it doesn't. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. But for now, let us listen to some of the other music we heard this week, and then talk about our memorable moments. right, Bernard, what do you got?
I was complaining last week about the structure of this game, and even though this chapter kind of follows the same structure, I liked it a lot more because, I did not see Rin being this week's enforcer coming, and I thought that scene was really good. I like how they weren't afraid to have a chapter with no dungeon. There is the part where you're walking through the warehouse district. That's sort of like a tiny mini dungeon, but I wouldn't really call it one. And I really enjoyed the boss fights against the tank and Kanone. Yeah, I really enjoyed this week. I don't think I would have enjoyed this week if I had had to do the games of hide and seek without a guide.
Yeah, I managed to do hide and seek without the guide by being lucky, because I was checking the rooms in a counterclockwise motion, so I found the locked door first. So then when I found the voiced cutscene with Doonan, I went back and checked that locked door. It was open, so I knew she had to be in there somewhere. So then I could just fumble around and make my way through it. So I managed to get lucky, but I could easily see how if you went in the opposite direction, you wouldn't ever find it. Because if you go in the opposite direction, the first room is Doonan's room. And so then you don't run into a locked door ever. So you wouldn't know anything special about the lounge.
I do find it hilarious how Raymond was like, oh, I can't find her. And then when you find her, she's right under the counter that Raymond is standing behind.
Yes.
Also, amusingly, something that I picked up from the guide I was using, if you talk to him too many times, you lose...
bracer points?
Yeah, you lose bracer points.
That's funny.
So you get punished for trying to skip going through the whole castle, which is super amusing.
I love that Julia joins the party for a bit. She's cool.
Love her. Cool. Speaking of Julia, I just dropped some evolution CGs in the host chat so you can see them. But during the probably best sprite fight we've had both games with Cassius versus Julia, beginning of the thing, there's a really awesome CG of her and Cassius fighting. And then there's another CG of Ren hiding under the counter, which is just adorable. And they're great. But those were my main two that I had this week. There were a couple other funny lines that I missed, and I kept thinking oh, that's really funny. After this, I'll bring up the log and screenshot the log. But then that scene ended with something dramatic happening, and I keep on going into the next plot point.
There was also that scene where Estelle and Tita are sad about Rin being evil, and Estelle's like, she's about the same age that Joshua was when Dad brought him home, got him out of the society, so we'll just get her out of the society. We'll drag her out of the society and make her good. And I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work.
I mean,
of course, she's probably like the player character in Trails of Cold Steel 2, for all I know.
I'm not going to give you an answer to that. Shit. No, I'm just kidding. Trying to think. I liked a lot of scenes this week. obviously the tank. I spent enough time on it that, like, even though it's like pizza. Even though it's not great, it's still pizza. I love seeing me a dumb tank in old-timey fantasy game because bad technology is always getting invented.
So I was curious, and I looked forward in the Let's Play to see, like, where do we pick up Estelle after she gets his photograph? And it's hilarious. She, like, 5 or 6 text box full is just like, oh, Joshua, why are you evil? You look so cold. And there's funny things like, why are you wearing a scarf? Do you think that makes you look cool? You just look like an idiot. Like, I hope your eyes are cold, like when we first met. And I hope you're okay. And ... Why are you getting along so well with that stupid tomboy? So it was both.
That's its fault. Damn you, Falcom.
There, because I figured we would forget to talk about this completely next week, so I brought it up now.
Thank you. I appreciate it because I absolutely would. Even knowing what I know now about Rena,
Mm-hmm.
I still really think the interactions between her and Tita are really well written.
Yeah.
I mean, my nieces are high schoolers now.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't that long ago that they were, that age and, having those same conversations about, well, no, I want to sleep in the same room as Aunt Amy. No, I want,
Mm-hmm.
it really, really tugged on the, like, oh, this is super cute. This is great. Whoever wrote this obviously has kids of their own or
Mm-hmm.
nibblings or whatever. They know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are it. The tank and cute kids.
Also, I really love the fact that Rena is a part of Organization 13, specifically because it did a thing that has only happened to me one other time. So back when Interstellar came out, I was working in the movie theater, and so I would go into the movies at like in the last 5 minutes so that I could clean it during the credits. And if you see only the last 5 minutes, like them all like unwinding the inceptions and then the shit with the top at the end, if you only see that, you kind of guess where the movie ends up. So then when you finally watch it, you have that in your head, and it makes it like even better because you're trying to like reconcile the two, and they don't actually reconcile well. And I know Ren's last name, so I was expecting a particular kind of story, and instead I got she's the bad guy, which was not at all what I was expecting whatsoever. So because I was spoiled on a future thing about Ren, I was completely and totally caught off guard by this one, which was awesome. Do you know Ren's last name, Matt? Did you play Cold Steel 3, I think?
Last name, off the top of my head.
Ren Bright.
That's
oh,
correct.
Shit.
Yeah. So I was expecting some other way.
Wait, seriously? Fuck. God damn it.
Oh, I thought you had like looked it up or something.
No, I was joking.
Well, there you go.
These games aren't a family tree, they're a family shrub.
Yeah, so don't know how that all resolves still, but that's what I thought was going to be the focus of this chapter, where we had met Ren again, but it was not, and it caught me completely off guard. So
all right.
Sorry that I confirmed instead of denying a spoiler, Bernard. But you should be a shittier guesser.
I mean, that was the shittiest guess.
Yeah.
I mean, how many characters in this game have last names?
Most of them, actually. We just don't care about them.
Well, yeah, last names we care about.
The Capuas and the Brights. I mean, technically, Richard is his last name. His name is Alan Richard, but it's Richard.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm looking at the wiki now. Just looking it up. Okay.
Yeah. So, because of that, because I knew that's future spoiler, and I still have no idea how we even get there. But
I mean, even the fact that Rin is in these games beyond this game is a spoiler, in my opinion.
True. But because it was back when Cold Steel 3 was coming out, and they were like, "Oh, look, it's the gang from Trails in the Sky with Estelle, Joshua, and Rin Bright." And I'm like, "Oh, well, that's a thing. I don't know what that is." And yeah, it's a whole hot mess, and I'm excited to unravel it.
Me too. That's interesting. Now that I've reconciled it in my brain, I kind of love it.
But anything else anyone wants to say before we toodle the fuck ooh?
I just hope we can get through one of these episodes without vague or explicit mentions of things happening in Trails of Cold Steel.
I'm going to give you one less spoiler, Bernard. It's not going to happen.
Anywho, so that'll do it for this episode. This series couldn't happen without the support of our Ko-Fi backers, so thanks to everyone who has been supporting us. If you're listening to this in the after times, you can join us over at www.rpgbook.club, where you can get access to these episodes a month before everyone else. Next week, we will be playing Chapter 4, which is titled... I just had it up, and then I closed it, because I was like, oh, we're all done talking about the stuff for today. And I'm a dumbass. It is The Mist Demon's Target. We're playing Chapter 4, The Mist Demon's Target, and going from there. But for Book Club no Kiseki, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
I've been Matt Jorgensen.
Adios, amigos.